Morning. Let me also join the previous speakers in congratulating all of us on Nigeria's 64th birthday anniversary. As you rightly heard, the Secretary to the Government said, in 1960, there were 45 million of them. That was the population of Nigeria. Now we are fivefold. There are 230 million of us. Not surprisingly, demand for government services, infrastructure, financing to fund education, health services, and compete with other nations have grown significantly. In fact, in 1999, which is 25 years into our democratic journey, our population was 119 million. But while our population has been growing fivefold, our economy has not expanded as quickly as the population has expanded. And with constitutional democracy, the demand for government services increase. Constituencies are aware about their rights and the obligations of government toward them, so they want infrastructure, they want water, they want schools, they want empowerment, they want ability to lead meaningful lives. So when President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu campaigned, based on both his collective experience in life and in particular as a former state governor and contemporary student of international history, he reckoned that what we need to do as a country is to communicate this challenge properly and correctly, and without blame game, confront it, while acknowledging that in the past, a lot of effort has been put to get it, but we are not there. And the easiest way to mobilize a populace is to quit blame game, admit the challenge, and mobilize the populace so that we confront the challenge. He was sworn in at a time when the world, countries in the industrial world and many developing countries are facing a cost of living crisis. Today, countries that are wealthier than us, that are richer than us, have seen homeless population increase, have seen people live in homes because they can no longer pay mortgages, have seen populations, this is industrial countries, European countries, US, have seen people making a choice between eating and heating because energy costs have gone up. So some of the challenges are not unique to us. They are contemporaneous challenges that are being affected by everyone. And even before Mr. President was sworn in, some of these challenges have been acknowledged. For example, all the major political parties campaign on subsidy, fuel subsidy removal. That it should go because it's wasteful, it's draining our resources, and it's limiting our ability to achieve. And let us explain clearly what this debate has been. When we say fuel subsidy removal, because it's a very emotional topic, many Nigerians forget the fact that diesel prices and kerosene prices have long been deregulated. And these are the fuel sources for most trucks. Petrol, cars can run on petrol or CNG. CNG is much cheaper. So it makes sense to transit to CNG so that Nigerians can have cheaper source of fuel, not just for transportation, but for irrigation and other productive activities that can support the expansion of our economy and even ensure that we are competitive in the goods and services that we produce. So what President did was to take the gauntlet and say enough of debate about this removal, enough of debate about CNG penetration, let's do it. Not without, of course, recognizing that there might be temporary shocks that have to be responded to, particularly to the vulnerable group, but with the confidence that after the temporary shocks, we will evolve an energy competitive economy that will contribute to expansion of the economy. So the renewed hope agenda or the renewed hope strategy is about confronting our reality without blame game, but recognizing that it will affect vulnerable groups, particularly in the short run, and that is why social intervention programs were introduced. A lot of intervention programs were introduced to ensure that we compensate for shocks, those shocks, while at the same time not squandering the opportunity to put our economy on a pedestal for growth. How small is our economy? Well, our federal budget is about $20 billion. And when you compare it to countries in the same population basket with us, you will see that it's very small. Indonesia is 213 billion federal budget. Brazil is $750 billion federal budget. So needless to say, if we continue going the way we are, we can't achieve our economic objectives compared to those countries. That is why we need to calibrate. You don't have revenue, it's too small. In fact, the most objective measure of this revenue challenge is the monthly federal allocation meetings, where we distribute less than $2 billion to the three tiers of government. So even if it is at $2 billion, that means $24 billion for the three tiers of government, local government that rely 90% on that for their revenue, or state government that rely about 70% on that, or the federal government, which is about 65%. So that tells us how challenged we were. So, Mr. President, even before he was sworn in, he was very clear that how did other countries respond to this? Those countries whom we wish to be like. We just came back from China, we want to be like China, we want to be like Brazil. What choices did China and Nigeria's GDP were almost similar in 1990. What choice did they do in 1990 that transited them to a wealthy nation that we are proud of? Well, for starters, they demonstrated that population is not a problem, because they were able to organize 7 times Nigeria's population under one political party and continue to deliver prosperity year after year. Why? Because they took the right economic choices. What are those choices? First, accept your reality. What do you do if you don't have enough revenue? Put policies in place that will impress international investors and people who hold capital to have confidence in your economy. Borrow sensibly so that you can put the infrastructure and support the productive enterprise in place that will yield more income tomorrow. And adopt policies, luckily that's where you, that have been tested elsewhere. That is why Mr. President introduced a consumer credit scheme, which the Minister of Information have spoken about, so that more Nigerians can be able to afford goods and services, as well as youth-centric programs. We have a 3 million youth training program that is designed to train our children or support our younger ones so that they can, our hardworking women are supported in the quest to deliver economic prosperity. We have programs for agriculture, we have programs for the MSMEs and nano credit schemes that are all intended to support revival of domestic economic activity. Mr. President is ambitious that we can create a $1 trillion economy in $1 trillion economy in as short time as possible, and it is doing so. But to create a $1 trillion economy, you have to take measures, pleasant and unpleasant, but proper. And last but not the least, Benga Ashiru, is that flotation of Naira is about confronting our reality. We just don't have enough foreign currency coming in. So the central bank, as an independent institution, Mr. President supported them to say, well, look, how was it done elsewhere? Countries that confronted that kind of situation. And it was judged best that you should not support a system where winners are chosen. You have to have a market-based system which does not determine winners, but give everyone opportunity, and with that, more revenue, more dollar will employ into the system, and when more dollar comes in, the exchange rate will stabilize at lower than it is. And we have seen signs of it. When the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy issued the first dollar bond, we are all apprehensive whether it will be subscribed, but to our delight, it was oversubscribed to almost 900 by almost 400 million. Sorry that I'm talking too long because, again, as the Minister of National Planning, I'm in a way the custodian of the renewed hub. And we are seeing visible evidence. Rating agencies have been favorable in what they are saying. Mr. President have interacted with leaders, some of whom we are privileged to participate, and we hear the commendations because they can see the sincerity. They know in those countries these are the kind of measures that were undertaken, and they offered him support. I remember the Minister of Trade and Investment in Saudi Arabia saying that they have been following Mr. President even before he was sworn in, and they saw his statements and measures compared to what the Crown Prince is doing in in Saudi Arabia. I've been warned by the monitor that. Thank you very much. Sorry.